What's good, everybody? Time for a DL Short live edition. Hey, I was watching YouTube feeds and stuff like that, and came across a story. Apparently, yesterday in Houston Hobby Airport, at Houston Hobby Airport, airplanes collided. So you guys know that I am a retired air traffic controller, and I'm here to tell you, 25 years in the business, airplanes are not supposed to crash into each other. That is a problem. Dr. B is in the building. What's good, fam? What's good, man? Good to see you. Luckily no one was hurt. Yeah, no one was hurt, but let's get into it. New York Post has a story on this, and we'll just bring that up. And there we have it. So private jet departs without permission, causing plane collision at Houston Airport, and that's according to the FAA. This was October 25th at 11:08 a.m. So this story came out today about what happened yesterday. Sister Candace, I see you. What's good, love? How you feeling? Good afternoon. Yeah, just want to do a quick short talk about this story. This is something that I know a little something about. That's being my field. So I just want you guys to see how the worlds are different. Like the air traffic world, the air traffic world is a very strange and wondrous place, right? But it moves very differently from the world that the rest of us live in. And you hear these stories. We're gonna read this article, and then I'm gonna break some stuff down to you as we read. So here we go. A Texas airport temporarily grounded all flights Tuesday when a private jet left without permission, in quotations, and collided with another aircraft on the tarmac, officials said. So, right off the rip, that part right there, uh, that's a problem. That's a problem. Air traffic controllers are there in the tower, and they are there to monitor all of the movement areas. Movement areas are taxiways and runways, and any place where the air traffic controller can tell you to go or not go. Those are movement areas, right? So any movement area, and the airport has tons of signage and stuff like this, and pilots are trained to know what these signs means and all the different lights and this and that. Pilots can't go on a taxiway or a runway without permission. That's the problem right there. So I'm gonna tell you right now, before we even get into this article, that once the investigation is done by the NTSB, it's going to be a system error. They're going to say what happened here is because of the entire system. It's going to be some pilot error. They're going to get in there and listen to the radios and see what was going on. I have my idea what might have been happening. And it's going to be controller error, right? The controller error part is an air traffic controller should have seen this airplane taxiing around, moving around on their movement area, especially when we get to the part where they actually hit. So let's continue. A twin engine Hawker H25B departed Houston's WP Hobby Airport without permission around 3:30 p.m. local time Tuesday and struck a twin engine Cessna C510, which is a Citation jet. It's a Cessna Citation jet. So Cessna C stands for Citation 510 as it was landing at a nearby runway on a nearby runway. The Federal Aviation Administration wrote on X. So two small business jets, basically. The Citation is the smaller of the two, but just barely. The Hawker is a little bit bigger. They're corporate jets. It is what it is. You can look up pictures. You can type that in and look up pictures. I want to say the Hawker could probably fit around 6 or 7 people. Maybe depending on how it's configured. And then the Citation is gonna get about 5 or 6 people, depending on how it's configured. And that's not counting the pilot. And that's not counting the flight attendant. So you got two pilots up front. You got a flight attendant, and then however they configure the back of the airplane to seat however many people they want to seat. I've been in Hawker jets and I've been in Citations. I haven't really seen them configured to put more than 6 to 8 people in there. I've never seen them configured to do more than that. And the Hawker jet is a little bit bigger than the Citation, this particular Citation, right? So let's continue with the story. The two private jets clipped wings as they were moving on the airfield. No injuries were reported. Hobby Airport said in its statements. The two small planes had visible damage from the accident. Footage from ABC 13 showed you can see the damage. We just had a midair. You guys just cleared somebody to take off or land, and we had a minor departure. The pilot on the Citation can be heard saying in audio obtained, and that's the picture of the jet. The audio was obtained probably from Online, there's this place called there's a site online you can go to get this. You can hear air traffic control. It's called Live ATC. You can go to Live ATC. I think it's .gov. It might be .com. Live ATC. You can listen to almost any airport on the world. So that's probably where they pulled that from. And that probably got the pilot. Hawker Jet was the one apparently taken off without permission, and the citation was landing. So I think that's how it went down. No injuries were reported, but the airport shut down its airfield in order to clean up debris. About 130 flights were delayed or canceled before the flight operations resumed around 8 p.m. That's according to ABC 13. Some passengers were sent to Bush International nearby, while others were diverted to other states, the outlet reported. And they're showing pictures of debris. So it looks like that's pretty big chunks of airplane on the runway. So it looks like it was a pretty, it looks like that's the citation right there. Tail number looks like 510 Hotel Mike, HM. And it looks like, he probably was landing and he hit the Hawker Jet, which was trying to take off, it looks like. And the incident is still under investigation. All right, so what does all this stuff mean? Right? What does all this stuff mean? So the investigation is going to take some time. First of all, like I said before, the air traffic controllers who are working that day are going to have to explain why they didn't see the citation taxiing out from the parking area on the taxiways, active taxiways, to the runway, and then getting on the runway and trying to take off. That's the first thing they're going to have to figure out. How did that happen? That should not have happened. My take on it, today's air traffic controller are more tech savvy than yesterday's air traffic controller. And what do I mean by that? Generational gaps, right? I didn't have a lot of computer savvy when I was coming up as a kid. And, it just would, it is what it is. Today's youngin', that's all they know. Computers, phones, iPads, all this other kind of stuff. So when I was training, especially in my last few years as a trainer in the FAA, training other air traffic controllers, the biggest problem we had with the new air traffic controllers was getting them to look out the window. You go to an airport and you see the control tower and you see those great big old windows all the way around the tower, right? I call it the glass bubble. Those windows are there for a reason. You need to use these eyes that God gave you and look out the window. You grab binoculars and you look it around, you see what's going on. The technical aids, the radar, there's ground radar, there's the radar for stuff in the air, there's radar for stuff on the ground. There's very, very good radar systems that are currently in use for especially the mid-size and bigger air traffic control facilities. Very, very big, very, very detailed. It shows you pretty much everything. And there's some small glitches in there here and there, but overall, it's a good thing. These new controllers stare at the technology and they don't look out the window. The radar can't capture everything. If two targets are too close together, they'll look like one target. They merge up. Sometimes it's hard to tell. There are inputs that are necessary to identify and maybe modify what we call a tag or a target. So it could be really difficult if you're just using radar screens and technology to see what's really going on out the window. So that was one of the biggest things. So my guess is when they do this investigation, they're going to lay that at the feet of the FAA and their traffic controllers. The controllers should have been looking. Second, the listen part. You got to use radios. There's nothing but radios and air traffic control. That's how it works. That's all you have. You have your radio and your skill set to make things happen, right? There's a really good chance. Again, we have no idea. They're currently doing the investigation, so this is just me speculating. There's a really good chance that the crew of the citations, probably two pilots on board, the crew of the citation was trying to call and reach out and establish communication with the air traffic controllers. Now, my guess is it was probably busy. It was stuff going on, maybe busier than normal in a particular session. And the ground controller, which is the controller responsible for everything that moves around on the surface area as far as the ground, taxiways and all that, the ground controller could have been oversaturated and did not hear the pilot call. There's a lot of things in that business. We got similar sounding call signs and stuff like that. So you have this citation. And when the I'm gonna see if I can find the audio stuff for this, guys. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure the government snatched that all up and removed it by now. But you got a citation whose tail number is 0 Hotel Mike. Right? There might be another airplane out there whose tail number is 5 Hotel Mike. The air traffic controller could have heard 5 hotel Mike, but the citation 0 hotel Mike is listening to what the controller said, right? So this is just an example. Again, I don't know what happened. This is just me trying to figure it out, just using, the decades of my experience. So when you listen to radio transmissions as an air traffic controller, is very, very regimented on what you say, when you say it, and how you say it. So there was probably that going on. You got confusion between the crew, the airplanes, the pilot, and the co-pilot, and you got and the air traffic controller. So the citation taxis out. The ground controller doesn't see this particular airplane. If you told Learjet 5 hotel Mike to taxi out and you see a citation 0 hotel Mike moving on your taxiway, you need to be asking questions. Now the problem is they're not looking out those big old windows and using their binoculars. No one's sitting there saying, "Hey, who was that? Why is there a citation?" Some of these air traffic controllers don't really know the different types of airplanes: Citation, Learjet, Hawker Jet. What other jets they have out there? Beach Jet. They all are kind of similar. Gulfstreams, Global Expresses. They're all Falcons. They're all kind of similar if you don't know what they are. You just seem like it's a biz jet. A lot of controllers are like, "Oh, it's a biz jet," which is short for business jet. Now, what type of business jet? Citation looks way different than a Hawker, which looks way different than a Learjet, which looks way different than a Gulfstream. You see what I'm saying? It's like saying, well, it was a car. What kind of car? It's a big difference between a Mercedes GLE and a BMW 3 Series. What kind of car? You know what I mean? So when this investigation is done, there's going to be a lot of that held at the feet of the controller. Now, the airplane gets all the way out to the runway. Same thing. It could be confusion at the runways, talking to what is called the local controller. The local controller is that controller who's tasked with just the runways. They're worried about the runways and what's in the sky. The airplanes that are flying around trying to land or take off, and then, so the runway is that controller's responsibility. Normally, that controller will have an assist. Someone is going to help them out. Normally. Now, again, we know that the air traffic controller needs more, the FAA needs more air traffic controllers, right? We know this from my platform because Jay Swans and I, every year, are putting out a video to show you how to apply, right? So go back into the library, go back into the archives and find them. We've done at least 3 shows on it. How to apply. The FAA needs air traffic controllers. Why? There's a shortage because people like me are retiring. Every single day, controllers are getting fed up and they're walking away. They're retiring. So if you have a situation where these air traffic controllers were overtasked and they were shorthanded, they didn't have the bodies that they needed, or something was going on, this sort of thing can, in fact, happen, obviously. So you get this citation who took off without permission, in quotations. Well, maybe the crew thought they had permission, because in the article it says the citation pilot keyed up and said, "You caused a mid-air. You were trying to take off with someone out here," or words to that effect. So the pilot is talking to air traffic. So that tells me right away that there's confusion with the tail number. There's confusion with that particular crew, that aircraft, and air traffic. That's what it tells me. So you got an airplane landing and an airplane trying to take off. That is a no-no, especially in the tower business. That's the business I was in for most of my career. One airplane on a runway at a time, generally speaking. Generally speaking, there are different rules in this and that. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but generally speaking, one runway, one plane. That's generally speaking, that's how it works. So again, confusion. A lot of this is going to fall on the air traffic controllers in the tower. A lot of it. And some of this is going to fall on the pilots for being confused. The pilots will hear, but maybe that's not maybe did he say 1 hotel Mike? No, he said 0 hotel Mike. And the pilot would just return with, "Okay, hotel Mike." So there's going to be confusion. I guarantee you, when they go and listen to what was said with the ground controller, that's a separate radio frequency. What was said with the local controller, again, the local controller is the one who controls the runway and who's in the air. What was said with the local controller, what call signs were used, what runways. I'm pretty sure Houston has more than 1 runway. I haven't looked at their configuration, but I'm pretty sure they got more than 1. I could be wrong. But we got to look at the configuration of the runways. There's going to be a lot going on with this. A lot going on. This investigation will take probably at least 3 months. At least 3 months. It shouldn't be more than 6 months. It shouldn't take more than that. No one was hurt. There was no loss of life. It was just loss of, aircraft with damage. And the FAA is going to have to pay for those jets. And that's pretty much what the investigation is for. And that's what the court hearings are going to be after this. When litigation is going to come behind this, because someone's going to have to pay for these $1 million jets that just got all banged up. Right. So that's what's going on now. I'm going to show you guys the pictures again. So like you see that picture, right? That's a lot of damage to a citation. And that's the citation right there. That's a lot of damage. I didn't see any pictures of the Hawker that they said that was involved, but there's some more debris that looks like it's on a runway. And okay, and there, oops, let's go up a little bit more. And this is the Hawker jet. As you can see, we're not seeing a lot of damage to the back, but this looks like the Hawker. I think it's the Hawker. Yeah, I think that's the Hawker. The H-25 Bravo. It's been a while. It's been a few years, so I haven't really, looking at airplanes. I mean, if we were looking at it live and direct, if I could see it moving around, I can definitely tell you it's the Hawker jet. And this one here looks like the citation from behind, but again, it's I could be wrong. I could have them confused, but that's pretty much that's what's going on right there. 2 airplanes clipped on the runway. The FAA is going to have to figure out who was at fault, who did what, when, and who's wrong. And like I said, it's going to be broken down, and I think into 3 areas. It's going to be controller responsibility. It's going to be like controller error, pilot error, and system error. And they're going to, work. That's one of the things they're going to ask. Hey, was all the equipment working properly? Was the ground equipment working properly? Were the radars working properly? Were the radios and the receivers working properly? Did we have enough people working in the tower at that time? Again, that's all part of systems. Okay. How many controllers were you supposed to have? Did anybody call in sick? Was anyone on limited duty? How many supervisors were in the tower? Were there any supervisors? Was there a meeting going on and they had maybe a third of the controllers were off in some meeting somewhere talking about nothing, right? Proper staffing is always an issue when you have these sort of things. And again, was it busy? Did you guys know it was going to be busy? Why wasn't there additional staffing? How come you didn't have this position open? Why was that position combined up? And what combined up is you have all these different positions in the tower. Sometimes you have to combine them up. So if you have like 2 local frequencies, 2 local controllers that works maybe, 2 runways or maybe 3 runways, you would combine that up to just one position. So one person would control 3 runways in all that airspace. Same thing with ground. Do you normally have 2 ground controllers? Do you have like a north side and a south side? And you have, and all the controllers are certified and they can do this alone. They can work it by itself. But generally speaking, if it's busy or some complexity out there, you want to open up every single position, right? Because every single position is what's optimal for the airport, every airport. If you have 5 positions for your airport, you want all 5 positions open in the tower. If you can do it, that is ultimately the goal, but it's really difficult to do that with staffing requirements and people get sick and all sorts of stuff, right? Things come up, people got to do paperwork, whatever. So was the ground controller working multiple positions? Was the ground controller super saturated? What was the experience level of the ground controller? Was the ground controller a fully certified air traffic controller, or was it an air traffic controller in training? Was it a supervisor? There's so many factors that are going to go into this thing. And that's why the investigation is going to take a few months. They're going to have to go through all of the paperwork. They're going to have to go through all of the training. They're going to have to go through all of the position logs to find out who was working and when that person came in and when the next person was scheduled to come in and this and that. And why are they doing this? 1, they want the system to be better. 2, they got to figure out who's at fault. Why? Because there's millions of dollars in damage out there. Not to mention all of the money lost in diverting flights and all this other kind of stuff that they're probably going to have to do. People are going to sue the FAA. Man, I had to go to a different airport and I had to spend $500 to get to my car and do this and do that. And I missed my connecting flight. So I missed my flight all the way over to Zurich. Now I got to buy another flight to Zurich. The FAA is going to have to pay for that. That's what they're going to be looking at. So that's why you're going to have this long investigation. But I'm going to try to stay up on this. I'm going to try to follow it. I'm going to see if I can't get my hands on the air traffic control radio recordings from the ground controller and from the local controller, the guy who was working the runway. and actually hear what was going on. That's another thing too. Who was the airplane talking to? Was the airplane talking to the ground controller while he was on the runway? If so, that's a no-no. Right. So I think it's going to boil down to the air traffic controllers not looking out the window and not knowing what they were looking at. If they did, in fact, look out the window, they just didn't know what they were seeing. So an airplane got away from him. He got from the parking area onto the taxiways, onto the runway, where he got hit or got involved in an accident with an airplane who was already authorized and cleared to land on that runway. And damage was done, but luckily there was no loss of life. It seems like no one was hurt, and that's a lot of damage. I'm looking at it. That's a lot of damage. This could have been far worse. So it looks like the FAA dodged a bullet on that front. Brother Nighters, what's good? I see you, man. Just came in. Thanks for joining the live, the DL Short live. Brother Mandrell in the building. What's good, man? Good to see you as well. So that's that, guys. I'm gonna keep my eye on this. And then once this is all done, once the report is complete, there is a way for me to get my hands on the official report. I'm going to try to do that. I'll reach out to some friends and be able to get my hands on that. That's Freedom of Information Act. It's not even a big thing. You just got to know where to go to get it. And that report would include all of the transmissions and all that good stuff. But hopefully I can find the transmissions before. Like I said, ATC Live, I might be able to pull it up on there. I'll try when I get back from picking up my daughter. Y'all know it's that time. Got to go get my baby girl. So, hey, that's it. That's all I got for now, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll be back at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. tonight. I'll be back, and we're going to talk about the dangers of the scam nation online and how should we protect our children from this thing, right? I found a couple of videos, some good stuff out there I want to share with you guys. I want to come off the red pill stuff for a little bit and just talk about some, how do we protect our children from the technology that we're all relying upon and we're just used to these days. How many different scams are out there and how dangerous things are for our children. So I hope to see y'all back here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the I Really Want to Know podcast with yours truly. Right. Until then, y'all be easy. Enjoy your Wednesday. I'm DL Sam. Talk to you later. Peace.